Hello everyone, and welcome back for another Misfits Racing League broadcast. We are here once again, to bring you racing action on a Friday. It is the MRL Club Division. Joining me as always, Unicorn, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Looking forward to our final race around Spain. It feels like only yesterday we started, but we've been going here all week now. Our fourth race here, and it's been exciting so far. So I don't think it's going to disappoint us here this evening.
I certainly hope not. We'll take a look at the circuit on screen there. You can see, of course, Spain, Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. Very, very unique circuit. Of course, home to preseason testing. Take a look at the calendar here so far for Club Division to see where these racers have already done battle across MRL Season 3 action. Of course, they've been through Australia, Bahrain, Vietnam, China, and most recently the Netherlands last week. And now we are going to Spain today for round 6. Following this, we have Monaco next week, Azerbaijan, Canada, France, Austria, and then we move into the second leg of the season, where these racers will go through into Britain, Hungary, Belgium, Italy, and of course Belgium, home to the Formula 1 Grand Prix this weekend. We're going to be visiting that for MRL tomorrow for the Endurance Series. But of course, round 15 there, Italy, Singapore for 16, and then it goes through Russia, Japan, the US, Mexico, Brazil, and then Abu Dhabi. So tons of racing action going to be happening here. But of course, here and now, here's going to be who is on the grid today. Let's take a look at Mercedes. It's ZZ9 and Fraser, and Ferrari with Alex Bitto and Seb. Ben the Bear and Remco Van Putten over for Red Bull. And it's Mito and Burke at McLaren, with Nigel McYetis and Arda, at Renault. Freeware and Wavy for AlphaTauri, Burke Khan and Alpha SH for Racing Point, Shenjay and Money for Alfa Romeo, and it's Tailman Sever with XTXP at Haas, Emre and Domi for Williams. So definitely going to be a fun race with those drivers on the grid. Of course, let's take a look at the standings here so far. Currently leading this championship is the Ferrari racer of Alex Bitto. However, very close to him is ZZ9, and you have Shenjay there in third. Mercedes is currently leading the Constructors' Championship. You can see there Ferrari in second and Alfa Romeo in third. I'm very excited for this race. We got some very quick racers on the grid today.
Indeed, and top of that, drivers standing at the moment, Alex Bitto, obviously his home Grand Prix here in Spain, Circuit de Catalunya.
Yeah, and we are ready to go as soon as these racers have piled into this grid. Of course, we will get the game sound back online for all of you in the stream. So we have quite a few reserves that are going to be taken to the grid today. I believe we have in reserve seats Astrodate, not mistaken, is a reserve. I don't believe he's full-time. We have Jack S in a reserve seat, as well as Yoda and Ali Avicii, as you called him yesterday in the Tier 2 cast. What a race it was in Spain yesterday. Just all week, we've seen, of course, 3 grids take to racing action here already this week for MRL. We saw MRL EU on Tuesday. That race took place the same time you're seeing this one. And of course, we had Tier 2 and Tier 1 racing action yesterday for MRL, and they had some very, very exciting, dramatic racing action. Of course, you can find all of those videos and highlights on our YouTube channel within the next few days. I believe all of the full replays are currently on the YouTube, but the highlights will be out within the next 24 hours. Of course, I think we have 19 racers. I think we may just be waiting on one more driver.
We are waiting for the aforementioned Alex Bitto to hop into this lobby. He's on his way. I don't know if it's technical difficulties or what that's holding him up, but we will have a full grid here this evening, it does appear.
That's what we like to see, of course. And Alex Bitto being the championship leader, I imagine he is not going to be too happy about missing this race. Not only the championship leader, but a Spaniard to boot. So he is now in, and he's slotted into his Ferrari. And I believe with that, we will be getting underway. Now, Alex Bitto in the MRL Endurance Series won here in Spain around a 100% distance race. However, yesterday in Tier 1, unable to capture victory. Perhaps we'll see him get the win again. Or, well, get the win in this race. Racing again is what I meant to say. Of course, best of luck to Alex, as he is the championship leader. Of course, Ben the Bear on the grid. He's been absent for a couple of races this season, and he hasn't had the most consistent finishes. So we'll see what he's able to put forth.
Yeah, definitely a very fast driver in Ben the Bear there, yeah. He does like to sort of throw himself curveballs in terms of the strategies he employs, which can sometimes pay off for him. And also, we've seen him as well plagued a little bit by connection issues. That sometimes works against him. But currently sitting 7th in the standings, we know he's got the pace to fight for the top spots. So we just need him to have a good, stable race. And I'm sure we'll see him pick up some points throughout the remainder of this season.
Yeah, and one thing to note as well is every time we do a race, we have a roll of the dice, if you will, for this weather. And as we see here, Unicorn, it looks like clear skies here ahead of qualifying. Perhaps the race will be a different story. Of course, we'll get a weather report for all of you momentarily.
Well, we are in 20 drivers into a short qualifying here. Now, one thing that has made qualifying so interesting around this circuit so far this week is that choice of tyre. The soft and the mediums, both very viable options to start this race on. And obviously the mediums, you can get into the top 10 if you can put in a fast enough lap. And the one-stop strategy versus the two-stop, we've seen both be very competitive so far around this track, but you can already see a few drivers opting for the yellow-walled mediums.
I believe yesterday, after the qualifying session that we saw in Tier 1, not only was it less than a second between drivers 1 through 10 for the interval on the grid, but it was as well, because I believe that's Domi and the Williams getting out of the pit lane first here. We'll go along with him. But of course, I think the comparison was 11 drivers on the mediums to 9 drivers on the softs. Of course, the back 10 having that opportunity to switch on to whatever tires they'd like coming out of qualifying. But if I had to put my memory to work here, I think there was only 2 drivers in that top 10 maybe that had actually qualified on the softs. I don't know. Now I'm completely throwing myself off, because there was 2 drivers in the top 10 I believe qualified on the mediums. Anyway,
that sounds more believable.
It was wild, because then we had the early safety car. Okay, now I'm getting it. And then we had the early safety car, and then you saw the grid completely flip. You saw the complete shift from 20th to 1st, and the whole grid basically just flipped upside down.
Yeah, safety cars. And it's a bit of an interesting one, like you said, when it comes an early stage of the grid, because of how little time you can spend on these soft tyres, as Domi is coming across the line to start the first flying lap of the session. But those soft tyres, they do not last, so there's a safety car within the first 5-6 laps of this race. We'll see anyone who's on those soft tyres, I should think, dive into the pit, take the opportunity, and whereas those on the mediums, they can stay out and just take the track position, as it were, under those safety car conditions. So if we get one here this evening at whatever point, I'm sure it'll throw a spanner in the works. But if it's those people on the softs from the start of this race, then that's when it starts to get a little bit more difficult for those at the front.
Yes, for sure. As Domi now coming through Sector 2. We saw him take a victory here yesterday, Unicorn, in Tier 2. He's coming out on these medium compound tires, looking to get a fast time set very early on here. We'll see if he's able to get himself a good enough time to hold pole for some time, as he is going to be the first driver to set a lap. He's coming through this very technical Sector 3. And we're going to go down through into this right-hander, leading through into this chicane out of the final turn here in Spain, and this is a very tricky bit of circuit, especially trying to battle with cars. You can't really do too much battling through Sector 3. Now coming through, DRS wide open. What's the time going to be? It's a 1:16 flat on the medium compound tires. A great time set from him. I believe that's going to be money now for his teammate Shenji crossing the line. It's a 1:17.1 on the soft compound tires. Not really what he wanted to put forth there. Ali coming in third, a 1:16.6. You see Fraser now on the soft compound tire, a 1:16.3. Money crossing a 1:16.1 on the medium compound tires, and this grid is going to start to get very competitive here in a couple moments. As we look on board to find another driver on a flyer. Looks like a ZZ9 on an invalidated lap. Alex Bitto, the Spaniard, flying now in the Ferrari. He's just crossed the start-finish line, Unicorn.
Yeah, Astrodite, he was about to cross the line, but it looked like he invalidated. I don't know if he invalidated through the chicane or whether, but he's come straight back into the pits. That was on the soft, so he hasn't set a time that would need. As Ben the Bear, 1:15.6 in the Red Bull. He's gone fastest. And
yeah, Ben the
so
Bear,
far,
definitely one of those drivers these racers are going to be looking out for. He's been absent a little bit this season here on the grid today. Always a threat in the Red Bull, so a lot of drivers are going to be looking for him on circuit.
yeah, and that could also, be the return. He might be a little bit hungry.
Alex Bitto coming out into that sector 2 DRS straight. He has had an off in that Ferrari, and that's not what he's going to want to do. He had a bit of struggle in the MRL Tier 1 qualifying yesterday as well, so he's not going to be too impressed with that. He'll be looking to get back on circuit. So, of course, looking for another driver on a flyer. It was Arda in the Renault who's just passed him by now. He'll be looking to finish out his first flyer of the session.
And Alex getting a little bit wayward out of that turn 9. I'm sure we'll see a few other drivers here fall to that corner. As Arda, big slide going into the chicane there. Sort of positioned him nicely to come into the pit lane in that Renault.
I believe it's the Haas of Ali who started a flyer, and it looks like there's been an invalidation.
Yeah, Alpha as well. He's invalidated his lap. So,
or I could be mistaken, as that may have been Hellman Sever, as Ali's actually into the... That was very confusing how the camera swapped there. I'm not entirely sure what happened, but a variety of drivers struggling here on laps. You see a lot of red track maps coming up on screen as we move through and cycle through this grid. Looking for a racer on a flyer now, though. It's going to be the Racing Point reserve of Yoda coming up through turn 3.
Yeah, Jack S as well in the Ferrari. He's flying at the moment, but his tyres are a lap old. I do believe he has also invalidated his lap. He's done it again out of turn 9. Nothing wrong with the corner in terms of spinning or anything, but he's just taking a little bit too much of that outside curbing as Yoda comes past a slow moving Williams. I'm assuming that's just an outlap for Emre.
Looked as though he pulled off to the side there. Yoda now coming through sector 2, DRS into this left-hander. Very tight, holding that inside. Trying to whip that car around the right-hander, and he's had a little bit of a slip out of that corner. Gets things under control, but that, I think, is going to be it for him. We'll see if he crosses the line or if he decides to pit here, but a lot of drivers struggling here around Spain right now. Not a lot of times currently on the board.
Fastest, 1:15.2. So he's 3 tenths up over Ben the Bear, or, yeah, 0.32. Faster than the Red Bull right now, and Domi, he set that 1:16 flat on mediums. He switched to softs in the pit lane. Likewise, Ben the Bear, he switched to mediums. So, drivers still undecided as to what they're going to choose.
I'm looking for the next driver to set a lap here. I believe it's going to be Mito coming out of the final turn in the McLaren. We'll see what he's able to put on the board here. It's a P5, a 1:16.2 on the mediums. Very quick time from him indeed. Hellman Sever has opted to pit as well now.
Astrike following suit with another 116.2 in the Red Bull. So those guys could be getting nice and close on track this evening, as a few other drivers, it looks like Alex Biddo is about to start another flyer, yet to set a time after that incident through turn 9. Emre, though, in the Williams, he is flying through Sector 3 down into the chicane with these rather large yellow curves on the inside, big bumps. You can really unsettle the car through there. And he's going to set a 116.7 on the soft, so he's probably going to want to improve on that one. As he's currently 9th.
Alex, moment, and switch on over to the driver who may be ready to cross the line here. I believe Money is about to finish a flyer. Domi on an outlap.
Both Arda and ZZ9, 19th and 19th, no time set yet. Both invalidating their lap. And ZZ9, we know him to be very consistent, not getting any penalties, but an invalidating lap in qualifying.
Money improved by almost half a second. Well, actually, it was half a second for an improvement in that Alfa Romeo. He's now jumped Ben into P2 on this grid, on the soft compound tires. Very nicely done from him. Now, Alex Biddo coming back through on a lap. Let's take a look at how he finishes on those mediums.
Yeah, right now the mediums very competitive, it would seem, on this session, as a 115.2 from the Ferrari. One excellent time to set on those medium tires. He is not hanging around here this evening.
And the Bear on the medium compound tire, now out for his second official run. Let's take a look at all of the times currently set on board. You see he set his 115.6 on the soft compound tires on his first run. Now he's switching to the harder compound in these mediums, and he's going to be looking to put a time up much quicker than what he's currently holding on to, that 115.6. He needs to find 4/10 on the harder compound tire in order to beat out the Spaniard for pole position.
Arda's just invalidated his lap time again. His teammate Nigel, he's on a flyer as well. He put in a very competitive time in qualifying yesterday in the Tier 1 race. If I'm not mistaken, it was pole for Nigel. Now coming to the second sector.
Yeah, Ben coming through the final chicane now into the final turn here around Spain. We'll see what the time's going to be. He's on these medium compound tires. DRS now going to be wide open for the Red Bull. Pole position. Look at the improvement. That is a 2 2/10 improvement on the Spaniard. Absolutely rapid in that Red Bull. Alex Biddo going to be having a very, very tall order to beat out that time on the medium compound tires right now. I think this one may be a battle of strategy, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. That is very quick from Ben.
Yeah, a 114.4 on medium tires is absolutely incredible. And you expect nothing less from Ben during qualifying.
Now Burke in the McLaren there, Unicorn has just crossed into 11th position, finally getting a time on the board, a 116.7 on the medium compound tires. Now it appears Tillman Sever has crossed 5th fastest on the softs, a 115.555 from him. He is into 5th. Very nicely done. Jack S now coming through on a flying lap. We see Alex not too far ahead of him on circuit. He's going to be coming into the pit lane.
Yeah, interesting enough, Arda right now on an outlap. Yet to set a time. He's invalidated quite a few laps here this evening already, but his tyres are already 1 lap old, if the timing tyres to believe.
Jack S jumping into that top 5. And the other Ferrari joining his teammate not too far behind. He is on the soft compound tires, however, a 115.375 time from him. You can see all of the tires that these drivers set their fastest laps on screen right now. There's a bit of a comparison between what the times have been set on and what the drivers are currently running on. But a nice lap from Jack.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about that is that the two fastest times right now, Ben and Alex Biddo, are both on medium tires. So those two very, very fast. And interestingly enough, Alex Biddo has swapped onto the soft compound tires in the pit lane. And whether we're going to see him come out and try and take pole position with that as Mito, he goes to 6th place, a 1:15.5. A few drivers on that 1:15.5 time right now, all within 1/10 of each other.
Well, Arda now among the 4 last drivers yet to set a time here. He's currently the only one of them on a flyer. He's coming through sector 2. He's had a little bit of oversteer here, or it may just be a lag desync on our end, but he's coming through this, I'm going to call it the iconic uphill hanging right. I don't know what the actual turn name is yet. Well, I do. I just can't remember off the top of my head, of course. But that is where we have seen time and time again throughout the past races we've commentated this week, Unicorn, where these drivers have struggled. It could be the zone where you see a safety car deployed, to be very honest.
Yeah, and we also saw the couple of turns prior to it as well. They caused a little bit of issues in Tier 2 yesterday after we saw a spin out of there. Obviously, again, that whole section is uphill, so... And you've got the curbs as well to bear in mind. You can take a little bit of the inside curb through turn 8, which is the one just before that long right-hander. So, yeah, a tricky section to be sure, especially when you're trying to maximize as much speed as you can out of it. Obviously, during the race, you're going a little bit slower than you are in qualifying, just because of race trim versus qualifying trim. But yeah, a section that everyone should definitely have their eyes peeled on.
Yes, most definitely. And one thing to talk about here now, Fraser's starting a lap. Of course, he's currently in 10th, and he is running on these medium compound tires. His fastest lap was set on soft, so he's going to be looking to jump ahead, hopefully, and get a faster time set on this board. Now, of course, for all of you tuning in, this is MRL Club Division. It's the second time we are running under the MRL banner, of course, the league formerly known as Clubman Formula Racing, as Fraser unfortunately invalidates his medium run, and that is not going to be good for him, currently in 10th. And that is the risky run for waiting for that track evolution. We'll have to see if he's able to get another run in. But of course, if you're new to the stream, make sure you hit that follow button. Tell your friends, get the popcorn ready, because we are about to have a fantastic race around here in Spain if the recent races we've seen this week are anything to go by, Unicorn.
Absolutely, yeah, and Fraser doesn't look like he's coming into the pits. He's just lining up to go for another run here. Doesn't really have time to go back into the pits, so this is the best opportunity he has. Behind him there was Wavy starting a flying lap as well. So getting very sight. What on earth happened there down towards turn 1 between them? Neither of them. Might have been contact. Wavy's missing a front right end plate.
Well, we switched on over to see what Shenjay was doing, because it appears, Freeware, because it appears he's on a flyer. But as we did that, it looks like Wavy and maybe Fraser came together. Wavy may have been under the impression that he was on a cooldown lap or giving him a tow. Maybe there was some kind of confusion there, because Wavy didn't slow down very much when Fraser was restarting his new lap. And of course, for those tuning in, it is going to be a 50% encounter here around the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, and 20 racers taking to the grid. We have a ton of tire difference and a ton of strategy difference, and the times really aren't that far apart when you take into question those tires. And ZZ9 on the medium compound tires into 3rd position, a 1:15.225.
Yeah, a little bit more successful than his teammate here. Wavy with the damaged car. He is going to set a time, but it's a 1:19.8, so whatever happened down towards turn 1 definitely cost him. That's for sure.
Now, another driver to talk about is Nigel. Currently in the Renault, no time set on the board. He won the Tier 1 race yesterday evening against some very competitive company, I have to say. So we'll see what he's able to put forth here. Going for the one-shot qualifying strategy seems to be his choice this evening.
Shenjay, a 1:14.7. That puts him in 2nd place right now. His teammate Money as well, 1:15.2, putting him up to 5th. But the two people who were leading before Shenjie's lap, Ben and Alex Biddo, both opting for the soft compound tyres, both on flyers. Now Alex Biddo taking a little bit of advantage of the timing desync where the session has ended, but he's allowed to start a flyer. Both Ben and Alex Biddo right now fighting for pole, flying laps from the pair of them on soft tyres.
And Nigel has invalidated his lap coming out of the final turn here in Spain, and I imagine the Renault not going to be happy about that. That is very unfortunate for him, as he has now caught that checkered flag, and there's a variety of drivers on the grid looking to set final times. Among them is Fraser on a soft set. Or excuse me, he is on the medium set. I'm just looking at what he set his fastest lap time on now. Is he going to have enough fuel to get around here? It's going to be very tight.
Oh. Ben might be playing strategy here, as Alex Biddo might have crashed out of turn 9 because he's no longer in this session, and there is a stationary Ferrari outside of that corner. He is facing the wrong way in the gravel trap.
Very unfortunate for him. Of course, qualifying at an end now. He will take 4th position, as I don't believe anybody will have an opportunity to improve, with the exception of possibly Burke in 16th, who appears to be on a flyer through Sector 2, up a 1/10 and a half.
It's also worth pointing out that Ben the Bear, he stopped after the final corner. He did not want to improve his time. He's happy with pole with the medium tyres, so he's taking full advantage of that strategy. And whether Alex Biddo didn't want to set a time on the softs as well, and that maybe he just sort of went into the gravel trap and misjudged it and crashed his car, or whether it was just an accident. But he has been beaten by ZZ9 in 3rd.
Well, Freer appears to be on a lap, as Burke invalidated his, and I'm not entirely sure how the AlphaTauri got it done. He's coming through Sector 2 into the DRS straight. DRS wide open.
Currently 2/10 up as well, and if that is to be believed, that could see him take 3rd place here on the grid.
Well, he's on these mediums, and his current time has been set on those soft compound tires, and I think everybody, looking at how the grid is right now, wanting to start on those mediums, at the very least at the front. We'll see what the time is. Very quick into 3rd. It's a very solid improvement from him. A 1:15.112 the final time from him in the AlphaTauri, and we'll have to see what Freeware is able to do here in the race.
Interesting. Oh, the game's just having a little bit of a moment there. But there we are.
Oh, there you have it. Ben the Bear on pole position. Shenjie lining up next to him on the front row in 2nd. And you have Freeware there coming in with a very good lap near the end in 3rd. ZZ9 in 4th. And that's Alex Biddo, the Spaniard, rounding off your top 5 here. Of course, we have Money in 6th, Domi in 7th, Jack S in 8th, Astroday in 9th, with Mito in 10th, Fraser in 11th, Tillman Sever in 12th, Ali in 13th, Arda 14th, it's Emre in 15th. Then we have Burke in 16th, Yoda in 17th, Alpha SH in 18th, and Wavy in 19th. And Nigel, with no time set here, rounding off this grid, bringing up the rear in 20th.
Yeah, like you said, he's not going to be happy with that result. An invalidated lap, especially around the last corner, is not what anyone wants to get, as it looks like we might have a few clouds above our heads yet here at the Circuit de Catalunya. Whether we'll see them open and pour a load of rain on this track, yet to be seen, but it's definitely cloudier than it was during qualifying as we wait for F1 to load in.
Giving us a little bit of a gloomy dynamic to this race, and I hope that there's no drama with the clouds looming in, of course. Now, for those of you tuning in, this is tier, well, not tier 1 or tier, it's MRL Club Division on a Friday, of course. Grab your friends, grab your family. If you have friends racing, we want to hear about it in the chat as we get things ready to go here for the formation lap. For those of you new to the channel, we do racing action every week. Tuesdays, 2 p.m. CDT, 8 p.m. BST for the MRL EU grid, and then Thursdays, 3:15 p.m. CDT, which is 9:15 p.m. BST for Tier 2 racing, and the 2 hours after that at 5:15/11:15, we have Tier 1 action. Then, of course, today, MRL Club Division, and on every F1 weekend, the MRL hosts a 100% distance race around the circuit that is happening on the current calendar. Of course, we're going to have to get a little clever when some of those races not in the game come up, but tomorrow, I can guarantee you we are going to have a cracking race here on the Misfits RL Twitch channel, because it is Spa, Belgium, for a 100% distance endeavor, and I believe there's going to be some rain involved, as these drivers now here in Spain look like they may have some rain too.
Yeah, it's definitely possible, and would be a very interesting dynamic to add to this race, especially in terms of what we've got. In terms of tyre strategy, we've seen the 1-stop versus the 2-stop, very minimal difference in time. As no one has been disqualified from the formation lap here.
I'd have to say it's the only grid that hasn't done it this week, I think. To be very honest with you, that hasn't had at least one pair come together, and I have to say I'm very happy to see it, but of course it's not over yet. There's still a little bit of formation lap to go. Nigel starting at the rear of this grid on the hard compound tires. You see the tire strategies there. Every single driver that started outside of the top 10 on harder compound tires, these drivers 6 through 10 are going to have some difficulty later on in this race maintaining those softs. They wear out quite quick around here. Perhaps the fact that it's cloudy, though, maybe the track not as hot. Not entirely sure what we're seeing on the grid as far as temps, but of course, Unicorn, take us away here.
Here we go then. For the final time here at Spain for this week. The lights a little bit confusing the drivers. We've got a few cars moving around. There's a Ferrari of, I think that's Jack, moving around on the grid, but everyone is away at the same time here. An end plate has come off of one of the Ferraris. I do believe that is Jack, who's dropping down the grid like a stone, but down towards turn 1, we've got Ben. He's just ahead of Shenji and Freeway, who are going side by side. Freeway coming out on top as Shenji a bit sideways, a bit wayward, but he's managed to hold it, but he loses the position to Alex Biddo. He's up 2 places.
Burke is spinning back there in the McLaren. We'll jump on with him real brief. Oh, and there's a big crash. That is the Renault of Nigel, and he looks like he went into the rear of one of those Haas racers. No, it may have been Wavy. And we have a safety car deployed here, and Nigel has had a major crash here coming out of turn 3.
Yeah, and Yoda, he just got a 5-second penalty for a severe collision. I don't know whether that was under safety car. It just says severe collision with Wavy under the race director. He's missing a front end plate, but I don't know if the safety car had been caught when he got that, so wonder whether he was in, well, he must have been entangled with that incident as well, coming out of turn 3. But what a crazy start to this race. Up the front, Freeway, he's jumped the Alfa Romeo of Shenji, as has Alex Biddo, who's up 2 places. Domi, he's up 2 as well, into 5th. ZZ9 down 2 into 6th.
Well, it's very unfortunate for the Renault of Nigel, who had a very unique qualifying session. It appears he left things to one shot, or maybe he just had struggles, as the rest of the grid did, in getting those times set. But now he is out of this race very early on here on the opening lap. We have the safety car out, and we're going to see a bunch of pit stops happen now, as I imagine a few of these racers wanting to get off of those soft compound tires. You can see Astrodate, Yoda, Jack, and Wavy all coming into the pits, and there's going to be a shuffle in the grid as a result of that. You can see Arda, Emre, Alpha, Burke all moving up. We'll take a look at where the positions have landed now after the start of this race. Ben the Bear is still leading in the Red Bull.
Oh, and Alex Biddo gets a 5-second penalty for coming together with Shenji. Don't know whether there is actually damage on the Alfa Romeo, but it's on the front wing, which would lead me to believe that that wasn't caused as a result of that incident, whatever it may have been.
Yeah, he definitely has a good portion of that front left missing. No end plate, and it doesn't look like he has much of the fins left for that wing either. It's
Yeah, definitely
in
significant
bad
damage on
shape.
that front left. I'm interested to see how there's a few drivers still on the softs here. Mito, Money, and Domi in the Williams there. I suspect that they'd want to get off the soft compound tires under the safety car, but whether they'll leave it a few laps just so that they can get as much life out of their next set of tires as possible, we'll have to wait and see.
Well, we're going to be going around one more time, and it looks like we'll see the safety car come in here at the end of lap 3. And what a wild race start that was. And it looks like Shenjie has decided to bite the bullet, and now he has had a bit of an issue on his way into the pit lane.
Yeah, not going his way at all at the moment as it starts this evening, and that's the story for a lot of drivers here right now. But it is still Ben the Bear at the front of this grid. He's managed to hang on for the time being.
And Shenjie serving a penalty of some kind as well. It's like he got 5 seconds somewhere, and it's freeware. Currently on the rear of Ben. Take a look at the top 5 cars right now, all different constructors, and we have the Red Bull, we have the AlphaTauri, we have the Ferrari, as well as the Williams and the Mercedes in 5th there, and then it actually goes through to another different 2 constructors in Money in the Alpha with Mito in the McLaren. So we have the top 7 drivers right now, all different constructors, which is something that you love to see, and you may not normally get the opportunity to in Formula 1. It's one thing I definitely love about racing here in the virtual space.
Yeah, there's 8 different constructors in that top 10, which is absolutely incredible. But the guys on the softs are not going to come in this lap. The safety car is, or has announced that, you know, it will be pulling into the pit lane. Whether they'll follow it or not, the likes of Domite there in that Williams, currently poised in 4th place, but he's on the faster tires, and they're still going to have life in them. Not very much, but they will have life for a good 2 to 3 laps more, while they'll be faster than these mediums. Will they take advantage of the end of the safety car and hop into the pit lane now?
I certainly hope that this isn't one of those situations that we've seen at least in 2019 racing action, where of course safety cars breed safety cars, but now it is time, as that safety car is coming in. We're going to jump on with Ben, as he is now throttled down and away here on the safety car restart.
Yeah, and someone who looks like he's had a very good start, Alex Biddo in that Ferrari. He's hunting freeway down towards turn 1. In that slipstream, looking around the outside of the AlphaTauri, not quite getting as close as he needs to. Very tight through turn 2, but those 3 cars, Freeway, Biddo, and Dome, going a little bit wide through turn 3. But he's stuck with them down towards turn 4.
It's a very intense battle for podium positions right now between Freeware, Biddo, and Domi, and things are spacing themselves out moderately throughout this time in tower. One fight to keep your eye on is going to be Yoda, who's wheel-to-wheel with Jack S right now. Not entirely sure if Jack S got back into control of that car, but it was a smooth move from the Racing Point. Not entirely sure if he was on the defense there or what, but of course Jack S now in 16th position. Yoda doing well there in 15th. He's got a lot of time to make up here in this grid as he pitted early. We have battles unfolding all over. Wavy now, it looks like he is having a huge battle. That's almost a 3-way battle through that left-hander, and it's now Shenjie pushing through in that Alfa Romeo, getting ahead of Wavy, and now I believe Yoda is next on his list. So much overtaking and battling happening right now. It's very hard to stay with all of it, but right now Alex still within half a second of Freeware coming down through turn 1. Not enough of a gap to make a move there just yet.
Yeah, and one thing that's going to be interesting is when DRS gets enabled, a lot of these drivers are going to have access to it. Right now, most of the gaps here are sub 1 second, and obviously that is the operating range for DRS. So
Oh,
we're
we've
gonna
had
see
a bit
that
of an
come
issue. Astrodite making a very, very serious move on the McLaren of Burke. Now he is charging through this field. Emre slow up ahead. Not entirely sure what's going on with him. Maybe there's some kind of connection desync here, and it definitely looks like there is, but Astrodite getting a move on Burke on the inside. There was a little bit of contact between the two of them. Again, not sure if it was lag or anything causing that, but it has been the move done for Astrodite into 13th position. Now Yoda has caught up with the McLaren as well, and he is gaining a lot of time right now on his personal times, given the fact that there's been a safety car. And we're currently on lap 5 here, and that Racing Point is hunting. And now that is, again, a timing desync on the tower of some kind, at least on my end. I'm not entirely sure if you're getting it, Unicorn, but Emre has caused an issue now, and Yoda has taken damage on his front end plate coming out of the final turn.
I don't think I'm suffering any desync issues, but DRS now enabled for this lap. Obviously not down the start-finish straight, but it is wavy, looking around the outside of Shenjie, side by side, down in towards turn 1. Turn 2, the AlphaTauri still there, but Shenjie just managing to pull ahead. He retains 15th place. Up at the front, though, Domi in the Williams on the soft compound tie. He's dropped off from the two guys who are still fighting for podium positions in Freeway and Alex Bido. And now he's under a little bit of pressure from ZZ9. He's going to get DRS down this straight, but the first person...
It's 3 wide, it's 3 wide, Unicorn, as Yoda is fighting off 2 drivers at once. It's Shenjie and Wavy. Yoda's leading in through the left-hander. Wavy a little shaky there, and they're coming into that DRS section now. It is a fantastic battle between these two as Astrodite gets ahead of Arda now into 12th or 11th position. But this fight between these 3 drivers in the back is absolutely crazy, and Yoda's going to lose out here because he has damage, but it looks like Shenjie and Wavy now continuing to battle wheel to wheel through Sector 3. There's been contact. Shenjie is off wide now. I believe he has front end damage. Wavy has front end damage. Everybody has damage, and these drivers are just getting through into these crazy incidents, and now there's been another exchange. It's wheel to wheel down into turn 1. That's Domi and ZZ9 having a battle. Currently ZZ9 leading out through turn 3. Wheel to wheel coming out of the turn right now. The Williams on the inside. Domi ahead of the Mercedes for now, coming through into this right. How's it going to go? He's out in front. Is there going to be a switchback? This is the battling we want to see.
Yeah, this is the Mercedes. Fraser, he also got past. He's going to want a piece of this pie in a minute. Meanwhile, a little bit further back, Yoda has now got past Wavy. With all this battling going on, Tim and Sever, he had an issue just ahead of that incident through the long right-hander, but he came off at turn 10 now as the front runners ZZ9 down into turn 10, still behind Domai here.
Well, Domai with a lot of speed, he's shown it. He showed it in Tier 2 yesterday, but of course he is on those soft compound tires, and ZZ9 on these mediums fighting with him. Domi is going to be pitting soon enough, I imagine, because that fighting is going to cost him a little bit more wear on those softs than he'd like. Now it's going to be overtaken. DRS in full swing once again for the Mercedes here, and we'll see if he gets enough momentum to try and make a move once again into turn 1. It doesn't look like he's going to now, but of course there's still a lot of racing action left here. We're not even a third of the way through this race yet, and there's just so much action here so far.
Yeah, you said it. Absolutely crazy start to this race, non-stop action. We have now got a little bit of time to take a breather, and that is going to be what Domi is going to have to do in a minute. He's going to have to pit off these softs in a very short amount of laps, as is the likes of Money and Mito.
No, there's a battle right now in the fight for 14th, and it's Wavy on the inside of Yoda, wheel to wheel right now. Both of them have damage. You can see there Yoda and Wavy both missing their front left end plates. Of course, right now, a battle of tires. Wavy on those quicker mediums right now. Yoda's going to be looking to catch up with him. And this battle between these two damaged front wings is going to be going on for quite some time, I think.
Yeah, and if it's livable and you've both got it, then you have to just sort of stick it out. The front wing change is going to cost you a lot of time, as Domi, he's come into the pits now. ZZ9 is going to inherit that place, as are a lot of other drivers. Money, though, he's staying out on those softs, as is Mito.
driver to talk about Alex Bitto. And I think you may have just been about to say it. He is hunting down freeware here, and he is within that half a second range.
He's been there for a little while, and he's just constantly in the DRS. And we've got a yellow flag. That's the Red Bull of Astrodite in the first sector. He's come off out of turn 2. Is there any damage on that Red Bull? It doesn't look like there's any visible damage.
Now Yoda dropping off of Wavy. He's struggling in comparison on these harder compound tires. Not entirely sure what happened resulting in the damage. It looks like Emre's car almost rubber banded into his front end. And now Domi with a very smooth move ahead of him. Seemingly coming out of nowhere there for the racing point. He is into 14th position. He has come out on some fresh mediums. And he's going to be looking to charge through this field very rapidly here.
Yeah, Fraser as well. He's looking a lot quicker than the Alpha ahead of him. Those old softs really not doing Money any favors. He comes in to get rid of those. And I'm sure we'll see Ali Avicii do... Mito on those other soft tires. He's coming as well. But now... Domi and Wavy side by side through the chicane. That's not what you want to be doing through that final sector. Wavy getting out ahead, but that's cost the pair of them a lot of time. Yoda now still with that damaged front wing, but he's looking at it as Domi with DRS side by side with the AlphaTauri, and he flies by, but it's Yoda. He's going to have a pop as well. Down into turn 1, Wavy. He's going to hold on side by side through turn 2, and it is Yoda who's going to stay ahead for the time being as they go around the long right-hander of turn 3, but Wavy is right on the gearbox of that pink racing point. Not going to be able to make a move down into turn 4 though. And Yoda retaking that position.
Oh, and Jackass into the wall! Jackass comes out of there. It looks like he cooked the rears there. Not sure if overtake was being utilized, but he's gone into that wall now, and he has lost that entire front right end of that wing. And he is not going to be happy about it as he's on those 7-lap old mediums now. He's already pit once in this race. Now he's going to have to pit again. Most definitely that wing going to cost him massively here. Of course, now the battle is still happening as the Alfa Romeo of Money on these fresh hards has caught up to the two damaged racers ahead. That's Wavy and Yoda, of course, and we'll have to see what kind of pace he's able to pull out on these racers.
And it looks like Jackass has had another issue, that front wing damage causing him problems through turn 9. Like you said, that battle for what is 12th position looking very, very spicy right now. You can see just the amount of speed Money is able to carry on those fresh tires now as they go down the start-finish straight. Both cars DRS enabled, but it is going to be Money straight past down into turn 1, ahead for turn 2. Maybe taking a little bit too much of the inside going. Not the best line as Jack S has retired from the session. And Money, he's not finished. He's gonna go and have a look at Yoda now. The damaged racing point is the next target on his list. Down to turn 5. He's a big lockup from the Alfa Romeo. But not any huge issues from him now. The DRS straight down towards turn 10 is going to net him anything more fruitful. Meanwhile, up at the front, Alex Bitto, he's almost dropped out of that DRS range. He's just about got it down to turn 1 as it's now Money up the inside and straight past into the hairpin. A little bit of lockup though, and that's cost him. Yoda's coming back at him, and he says, just because I'm damaged, you're not coming through that easily, sir. And he's taken that 12th position straight back from the Alfa Romeo. Now, Money's going to have to do it all over again down into turn 1.
Yeah, a little bit easier for the Alfa Romeo through into turn 1, I think. But of course, now the back marker of Arda is going to give Yoda DRS here, but it may not be enough. As you can look at the overtake and the speed difference between these two right now. Of course, Yoda with that damage, but Yoda seemingly having enough pace in his setup right now to keep him ahead into turn 1. Very nice, and he was utilizing his energy the same way, I imagine, to keep himself ahead of this Alfa Romeo. And damage or not, Yoda not wanting to give up this position very easily right now. He's holding that outside. He wants to have optimal entry here. There's no wheel-to-wheel action as of yet, but you can see Yoda through these turns is where he's going to struggle.
Meanwhile, a little bit up the road, Astrodite and TM and Seva are there going side by side. Astrodite not being very patient, and he's just trying to go around doing that tough left-hander, which is, I believe, turn 7. Now down towards turn 10 with DRS. Side by side going into the hairpin. Astrolite in the grass. He's taking a 3-second time penalty to that. He is not waiting to get past.
Oh, definitely a risky move there. And Alex Bitto, the Spaniard, is now into the pit lane. And he's going to be looking to get off of those mediums. I imagine we'll be seeing him jump onto some hards. And yes, he does. So he's going to be going to the end on those, barring any issues. Of course, Astrolite now with DRS and overtake in full swing. Will he be able to catch up enough to this Haas ahead? Of course, the Haas on the 12-lap old hards. Now both of them getting ahead of the Ferrari. Is there going to be a move? There is. He takes a lunge into turn 1. Tillman Sever holding his line there. Very touch and go for the Red Bull. It could have been very terminal for him had he caught up the wheel of that racer ahead in 7th position. But of course, Tillman Sever holding on to 7th for now. Meanwhile, we still have action happening in 12th versus 11th. It's Yoda still ahead of Money. Money not able to pull the trigger just yet on the Racing Point, even though Yoda with the damage and on the older tires. He's showing great pace. Yoda, though, you can see he just likes to hold these outside lines. He's trying to play that wing as best he can, give himself as best of an entry into these turns as he can. He's doing well right now. Meanwhile, Astrolite still within half a second ahead. But
yeah, this battle just got a little bit more interesting. Mito's joined the party on fresh mediums.
I was just going to say, Mito, this battling between Yoda and Money is costing them both to the drivers behind, and Mito's going to be on the faster tires at this point in the race.
Yeah, with some of the front runners coming in for pit stops, but Yoda, we've said it before, his defensive driving is absolutely superb. Alex Bitto, he's been chucked out of the pits just behind Astrolite and Tillman Sever. He's going to get DRS on the Red Bull. He's going straight past the Red Bull of Astrolite, and that's ZZ9 coming out of the pits. Everyone is being put out in these midfield battles from the front of this pack, and that's Astrolite. He's off into the runoff out of turn 1. Not quite sure what happened here. As Money up past Yoda into turn 1, and Mito, he's going to have a go as well. He's off of the first corner, just about avoiding any huge incidents with Yoda, but up through turn 3 around the inside. The pace he had through there, those fresh mediums really paying dividends for the McLaren there.
Yeah, and Alex Bitto now having come in onto those fresh hards. He's been charging through the field as soon as he's come out, and now it's Tillman Sever's turn, and I believe he's going to be a sitting duck here in the Sector 2 straight. The Ferrari looking to the inside here. They're wheel-to-wheel into the turn. Tillman Sever giving him the space. Alex Bitto getting through, and there's a big kick out of the Haas there. You see a bit of oversteer come through, and that's going to cost him big time to the Red Bull behind, and that's Astrolite. But Astrolite has ZZ9 breathing down his neck, and I think that Tillman Sever here may be at under threat of a double overtake between these two. He may get robbed for 2 positions here because these drivers behind him are looking rapid.
Yeah, Alex Bitto really had to dispatch that Haas. ZZ9 put out just behind him. Those 2 cars though, Tillman Sever and Astrolite going side by side down to turn 1. Astrolite, the outside, he is ahead, and he's got the move done way before the corner, but ZZ9, he's going to want to be hunting down Alex Bitto. He's not too concerned with the 2 drivers ahead of him. He wants that Ferrari, but in order to do that, he's got to get past these 2 pretty quickly. As Money, he's pointing in the wrong direction out of turn 1. Yoda very narrowly missing contact there, and I don't know who he had contact with, potentially Mito in the McLaren, but Money, damage on that AlphaTauri. Well, it looked like someone missed an end play. It wasn't the AlphaTauri though.
Very unfortunate for the Alfa Romeo. Meanwhile, this midfield battle still in the heat of things as ZZ9 very tight to the rear of the Haas, and right behind him, he has another driver who's been very quick throughout this campaign. That's Domi on the medium compound tires.
Yeah, down to turn 10, they're all very tight. You can see Domi going a little bit wide through there. Now along this wrong right-hander. They've just got the technical bit of Sector 3. Not a lot of overtaking opportunities, but I'm sure everyone is fairly well accustomed to that run down to turn 1 as ZZ9 not getting the best run thing there. That cost both him and Domi a lot of time. Maybe he was just a little bit too close to the rear of that Haas, but now DRS and overtake for both the Williams and the Mercedes. ZZ9's got rid of the Haas. He's straight before the corner. Domi not quite having the pace to get past as well, but he's still carrying a hell of a lot of speed through turn 3.
There's an issue up ahead. Oh dear, and that is absolutely wild. It looks like there's been an issue. Alex Bitto has dropped into 9th, and that looks like the back marker of, or no, it was Arda. Arda is out.
And there's Emre as well. He's up, and Alex Bidow's lost his entire front wing to the rejoining Williams. He is not going to be happy about that at his home Grand Prix, or in fact any track. But not quite sure what's happening through that second sector there, but absolutely crazy stuff.
Definitely crazy stuff, as Alex Bidow is not going to be impressed with how this race has turned up for him. He's just not having the luck he wanted to have today, I imagine. And the stewards, I imagine, are going to be quite busy, as Ben the Bear making the move on Fraser. Fraser, not a thing in the world that he can do about that Red Bull right now. Ben the Bear having a very dominating race right now at lead of this one.
Shenjay's just picked off Mito. The Alfa Romeo on the hard tyres, but that's not really costing him too much time. Mito on the technically faster mediums. As that's Alex Bidow out of this race, out of the final corner. What has happened to him? His car. Can't really tell what's happened. Where is that? Just before the pit entry, it doesn't look like he's got any rear tyres.
Well, that is not the race he wanted to have around here. I imagine he's going to be quite annoyed with that.
I wonder whether the onboard of Wavy here will give us a better look, given the slower pace. If that car hasn't despawned, there it is. So he has rear tyre. It's the front left that he's missing on that Ferrari. And we are now under safety car conditions. So Ben the Bear on 1 lap old hards, a huge gap to his nearest rival Freeway, almost 10 seconds, given that Fraser hasn't pitted yet. And this safety car is just going to close that gap up right after they've all pitted for hard tyres. As Fraser, he takes advantage of this. He dives into the bits. Off of those 16 lap old hards, I expect to see Astrodite, probably Tiemann, Seva, and Emre do the same as well. Whether Domi will take advantage of this safety car. He's on 7 lap old mediums. He could come in for hards, and it looks like he's going to do just that. This also might be the opportunity for Yoda, not only to get some fresh tyres, but also repair that front wing that he's been suffering with this whole time.
What a race this has been.
A lot of drivers actually taking advantage of this.
Yeah, not going to be happy is the Spaniard, and I've already seen his distaste for what happened there. And, well, it's very unfortunate that that happened. Of course, the stewards, and I know Alex is listening. Stewards are here in place for a reason. Yes, unfortunately, your race has come to a finish here in this one, but penalties are there. And, well, take a trip to the cool-down room, my friend. Fraser currently in second position of this race. Domi in 6th. And these two drivers, Freeware as well, all on fresh rubber. Ben the Bear on 2 lap hards.
Yeah, and him not coming in might be a little bit of a downfall for the Red Bull right now. He's been dominating this entire race, but now Fraser, the safety car, came at just the right moment in time for that Mercedes. As for the rest of the grid behind him, Freeware as well. He was someone I wasn't expecting to come into that pit lane, but fresh mediums might have been an excellent call from that AlphaTauri garage, because he's now poised right behind not only Ben, but ZZ9 as well, both on hard tyres. And this is going to give Freeware and Fraser the edge at the moment, because behind them as well, it's a sea of hards up down to 8th place, and then fresh mediums from 9th to 13th. Alpha SH on the fresh hards, and Wavy, he's only just come in before the safety car for fresh mediums. So the only person who hasn't pitted in the last 3 or 4 laps, Shenjay, who's on 11 lap old hards.
11 lap old hards, wow. Going to be a very tight position. We saw him make a very, very interesting strategy call on hard tires yesterday. In lead of a race. And that strategy didn't pan out for him, but he's on these 11-lap-old hards. Maybe he thinks there could be possibility for another safety car. It's going to be very interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah, he's gonna struggle on those tires, I should think, especially towards the end of this race. Right now, they're still in a very good operating range for the tire. They're still gonna be slower than the large number of fresh mediums that are behind him, but that didn't stop him from overtaking Mito when those tires were a little bit fresher, and Mito was on fairly fresh mediums. So maybe Shenjie just believes he's got the pace on those hard compound tires.
It's very, very unique race here, and the safety car looks like it might be going around again here.
It does indeed. Obviously, for us, the incident has been cleared, but if that was the case, the game would just allow the safety car to instantly end, because obviously, unlike real life, it's just a case of that car disappearing. There's no need for large tractors or anything to remove not only the car, but get marshals out on track to sweep off any debris.
Well, the entire grid all the way down to 15th now bunched up. Any of these drivers make a mistake on the restart, take any kind of penalties here throughout the end of this race, as we're basically 2/3 of the way through now. It's going to be very difficult to come back through.
Yeah, and it's just going to be interesting to see how these different tyres play out. We've got the mediums versus the hards, and with those mediums, they're going to be asked to go about 14 laps by the end of their life. Should be doable. I'm pretty sure about 13 laps is what their recommended life cycle is. So for many of these drivers, squeezing another lap of life out of those yellow wall tyres shouldn't be too much of a challenge for them. But the likes of Ben the Bear are going to be more comfortable towards the end of this race. Whether they'll be quite as comfortable going as fast, that's the real question, and we've got to ask ourselves here. As hopefully race control will ping up the little message saying that the safety car will be coming in this lap. There it is. You can see everyone weaving, getting some final heat in those tyres before we get this race back underway on the 21st lap when Ben crosses that line.
Well, see Ben slowing things down very early here for this grid, giving that safety car a very, very large amount of room to come into this pit lane, and we'll see how he takes off here away from this grid. We'll jump on board with him. We have the telemetry. You'll really get an idea of when he wants to go here, and we saw it yesterday from Domi. Seems the preferred method to accelerate out on a safety car restart here in Spain is to just gun it with a wide entry out of this last turn, and now the throttle is down and he has had a bit of a slip there, and that's going to cost him big, as Fraser is towering down on medium compound tires right now.
Yeah, and Fraser's going to have all the grip going into this first corner. A lot of run on into a high-speed right-hander, and he's not going to be able to make the move right now. Ben the Bear holding on to that first position. Further down the grid, it doesn't look like there's been too many position changes. Yoda, he's under threat from money in the Alfa Romeo. I'm not sure who started in front of who, but they're very tight together, side by side, from the pair of them. But look at the front four. They actually torn away as Dome, he's up the inside of Ali in that ass, but now... Sorry, he's around the outside, and he's managed to squeeze past for 5th place. And Freeware, he's tight on the back of ZZ9. Obviously no DRS as of right now on track.
Shenjie on the rear of Ali now in this fight for 6th here after the restart. Now on the inside, wheel to wheel coming through this turn. How's it going to go between these two? It's a very tough section of circuit to fight through, but there's still wheel to wheel now. It's still Shenjie. He gets out in front of Ali, and now Astrodite, this has opened the door for him, and he's wheel to wheel with the Haas, and he's out in front coming into this chicane.
Oh, and that's a very laggy Emre in the Williams. He's all over the place, off into the gravel trap out of the chicane. He's having huge technical issues there, but no one seems to have been too badly affected by it.
Well, I'll tell you, There's two drivers that have been badly affected by that car today, and I believe it has been Alex Bitto, who is out of this race, and the current running driver of Yoda, who took some very random wing damage from that Williams. Of course, stewards are going to be investigating that after the race, but right now, Freeware in this hunt for podium positions, it's ZZ9 on the defense, and he is on the older tires, and we'll just have to see how those hards hold up versus these mediums that Freeware is on right now through into the end of this race.
Yeah, the goal of those guys on those slightly older hard tires is just keep these guys on the fresher mediums behind, make them use as much of this tire as possible to try and get past them, and then by the end of this race, if those drivers, the likes of Freeware and Fraser, get past, then they can pounce at the end of this race when their tires are still well within their comfortable operating range. Meanwhile, Ali Avici, he's under threat now from his teammate Tim and Seva side by side going through this final sector into the chicane. Ali Avici getting a lot of that big yellow inside curve, which is a huge bump in the road, and that allows his teammate to fly by, and now Yoda held up through the chicane. He's not going to hang around though. No DRS needed. Overtake enabled on both cars, but it is going to be the pink racing point up the inside, down into turn one. Is he going to be able to get the move? He is indeed, and Ali Avici is not having a restart of a lighter here. He's having the direct opposite. He has dropped like a stone on those hard compound tires.
Oh yes, he has, and now it's going to be money on those mediums behind him that's going to be looking to have a taste of the overtaking action, and it's Freeware still within half a second of ZZ9, but he needs to make haste because that driver in the Williams on the hards, and Emre is now out of the session after DNFing, and it's been a very unique race for the Williams.
Yeah, it doesn't look like car's not operational, so I wonder if it's a manual retirement. It's the same corner, turn 4, where he was rejoining the track and cost Alex below his front wing. So not too fortunate through that corner for the Williams so far this evening, and like you said, he is now out of this race. From 20 drivers, we now have just 14 remaining, as we've got about 10 laps left here in Spain, and we were worried whether for these drivers on the hard tires whether their pace was going to be a concern. Not for Ben the Bear. He is absolutely flying. 2.2 seconds between him and Fraser right now, as Freeware up the inside way before the corner. The AlphaTauri takes third place, and Dome is doing the same thing, but not quite as comfortably on Shenjie. He's got the move done through turn 2 though, and around turn 3 he takes 5th place from the Alfa Romeo.
There's a fight right now between Mito and Wavy, and Wavy got ahead of the McLaren into turn 1 as well, as that is the hot spot for overtakes. Now Shenjie looking like he's having a run back on the Williams of Domi. Less than half a second is the gap there still. But Shenjie on these much older hard compound tires, not a lot he's going to be able to do on those.
So far it hasn't been bothering him too much, but DRS now is a factor in this race, and down this straight out of turn 9 down towards the hairpin of turn 10. No one taking advantage. I was expecting Yoda to maybe make a move. The more popular spot being turn 1.
Well, he almost lost an end plate there in the rear of that Haas of Tim and Sever in 8th position. Now turn 1 is the safe bet. Of course he is losing a little bit of time now as he almost went into the rear of him, but Shenjie, who's very close still to Domi, less than half a second, DRS and overtake. He's got a good carry of momentum here. It should be a very easy overtake into turn 1 now, wheel to wheel with the Williams. A little bit later on the brakes is Domi. They're wheel to wheel coming through turn 2. Shenjie on that inside, getting through. Very nicely done from them.
Yeah, it's really interesting that Domi opted for the inside line there down into turn 1, because obviously that gives you the outside for turn 2, and that just gave Shenjie the run he needed for the third long right hander there, and he just flew past the Williams. But obviously that means that Domi now is going to have DRS down to turn 10, and that's going to keep him there if he doesn't go for the move for the start-finish straight. But meanwhile, Yoda is still battling the two Haas as well. He's not quite caught.
Domi on the inside of Shenjie. A little bit of contact there on the front right for the Williams. Shenjie holding in 5th. It was a big lunge from Domi. Not having a lot of patience right now.
Yeah, and those two have got to be careful. There's Aphrodite and a Red Bull behind them. He's looking quite hungry for these positions. He's slowly gaining a little bit of time every time these guys go at each other through the corners. So he's still got DRS on the Williams this time round, and he might just pick up the pieces here if they're not careful.
Things are very tense on this grid. Domi's so close to the rear of Shenjie, but not having enough to take that position back from him. We've seen them exchanging over the past couple of laps right now, and some very clean exchanging as well. And now further down this grid, we still see some exchanging in these positions for 10th, because it's money on the rear of Ali right now. Ali not too far behind Yoda in the racing point, and ahead of him it's Tillman Sever, and there's a train right now through into 8th position, leaving a lot of points on the table.
Yeah, these last point scoring positions, always fun ones to watch the battles for them, because it's the difference between no points and even just 1 or 2 can make all the difference in your championship run, especially in terms of position at this early stage of a very long Drivers' Championship. 22 races this season, and that means these guys want absolutely every single point they can achieve, even if they're a reserve driver. Just scoring as high as you can is the goal for all of these drivers, obviously.
A very intense battling now, as Money is now within very clear striking distance of Ali. Ali with a bit of a weave to defend here. He's moved his position a few times on the straight.
It's going around the outside of Tim and Sever. Sorry to interrupt there.
No worries. We had a good shot of it coming off of Money there in the Alfa Romeo as he's made the move on Ali, and it looks like 2 Haas drivers getting overtaken inside of a turn.
Yoda, he looked way too far back for a move, but DRS and overtake just let him fly by that Haas. Absolutely gobsmacked by the pace in that racing point, and that new front wing. He has got a new front wing on that racing point. Is really working wonders for Yoda. Obviously standing in for Berke Khan this week in the MRL Club division, but it's because he's a reserve. He's not hanging around, and he wants to take home as many points as he can today.
This has just been a very good race so far. A lot of overtaking, some heartbreak, some drama, some safety cars. It's had pretty well everything you could imagine. I think the only thing we haven't had is a VSC.
Yeah, but we've had a couple of safety cars to boot, so I'm not sure anyone can complain about that. Meanwhile, up at the front of the grid, out of nowhere, Freeware. We saw him pass ZZ9 a few laps ago. He's now caught up to the other Mercedes of Fraser.
Oh, it's Money with Ali, and Wavy's in the mix as well. It was almost 3 wide coming up through turn 2 there, but now they've fallen into formation, and it is currently Money in the last points position defending against Ali. And in on this mix, that is going to be Wavy on the inside, with a very intense battle going down for this final points position right now, and Money is the person with the cookie, if you will. Everyone is fighting to win it here, doing it for the biscuit.
Yeah, meanwhile, Freeware, he's right on the tail now of Fraser as they come through the final sector. He needs to stay there so that he can get a good run down into someone, both of them with near as damn the same amount of ERS, but it is going to be Freeware who enables it first, as well as DRS. Fraser as well, he's utilizing a little bit of his battery, but nowhere near as much as Freeware, who flies by the Mercedes, and he takes second place for the time being as Wavy. They're all having a scrap down for 10th place right now. This is 11th, sorry, because that's Mito now in the mix. He's going up the inside, not getting the Haas, and that's an almost contact between him and the AlphaTauri.
A lot of drivers in that fight right now for that final points position, but Ali, as a result right now, currently in 11th, falling behind. Wavy getting out in front of the McLaren with a very smooth move there as well. That's what you like to see. As we're on lap 29 of 33, Unicorn.
Yeah, the other Haas of Tim and Sever, he's catching Yoda, and DRS is going to sort of drag him towards the rear of that racing point, and that's going to give him that all-important run. Meanwhile, just ahead of them, Doma and Shenjie, their battle's still going on. There hasn't been any changing of positions right now, but Astrodites clung to them as well very successfully in 7th place right now. So I think what we're going to have here at the end of this race is a lot of last lap lunges from these drivers. People vying to get ahead. You want to have DRS on the last lap, so you've got the most opportune moment as that's Domai up the inside into turn 1. Almost a spin from the Williams with Shenjie trying to close the door on the inside there, and that's left Domai just over half a second behind the Alfa Romeo. Very nice to save that.
Yeah, it was very tight. As we were on board with Astrodite, we tried to switch to that to a proper broadcast shot there. We didn't get the camera we wanted, but the move didn't happen, so we'll have to get it when it does, if it does. Shenjie doing very well to defend in 5th right now, and he is on tires double the life. Well, I guess Domi is on tires with half the duration to them is what I guess I'll say there, but things getting intense here. And of course, something that can always play a role in the finish of these races, Unicorn, is the penalties.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been so much action so far during this race. I haven't really had a chance to look at that. I do believe that Fraser may be hosting some penalties. As for the other drivers, Ben the Bear, he's squeaky clean. Only one warning to his name, as is Freeware. Fraser, on the other hand, he has a whole host of penalties on his timing tire. At least 5, it looks like. So he could drop massively, as it doesn't look like anyone else around him. ZZ9, uncharacteristically, he's picked up 1. Shenjie has 1 or 2, depending on what. I think he served that 5-second penalty in the pit lane.
Domi not able to get the move done on Shenjie there. Yoda getting overtaken by Tuum and Sever, and they're exchanging once again. Tuum and Sever was overtaken by Yoda earlier. Now it's Yoda's turn to catch up to him, and Domi is still within that half a second. He is not letting Shenjie go, and as this race rages on to the end, it's going to be very hard for Shenjie to keep him at bay. Meanwhile, Ali in the Haas on the hards, currently very tight to the rear of Money in this fight for the last points position, but he runs a little wide coming out of that hanging right, maybe feeling the tires a bit. But there's just a lot of battling happening in this grid right now. Domi back with Shenjie coming through the final chicane now. We're on lap 32 as Ben has begun.
And Ben's pace has been absolutely astounding so far this race. And Shenjie as well, his tyre management is nothing short of absolutely incredible, as he's taking those tyres so far to the end. And Domai again failing to get past down into turn 1. He has 1 lap left after this to try and utilise that overtaking spot.
With each failed attempt from that Williams, it's giving Astrodite a better opportunity at getting through in a good position here in that Red Bull, because he is very tight to the rear of Domi now. We're on the penultimate lap of this race. It's less than half a second between both of these drivers. Another driver to take a look at is Ali, who has been hunting down Money for the past few laps, and Yoda, who is still within a second of Tuum and Sever in that fight for 8th. Now it's going to be Domi. He has Astrodite on his rear. Astrodite with a lunge down the outside. That's Domi holding it on the inside, and Astrodite not getting the move done, and that move is going to cost him. Not as much, but it is going to cost him. He's still within 3/10. You can see it on the timing tower there. Shenjie coming into the final chicane now. It's going to be Domi. How's his exit going to be? This is where he's been struggling, I think, around the overtaking opportunity on this Alfa Romeo. Astrodite not struggling as much. You can see much closer to Domi than Domi is to Shenjie, and Shenjie is on extremely old tires. As we are now on the final lap of this race, Fraser currently less than a second separating him and P2, and penalties could definitely play a role for these racers come the checkered flag. Yoda getting ahead of Tuum and Sever into turn 1, a very clear overtake, no wheel-to-wheel battling in the turn, but it looks like Tuum and Sever having to run back. Is he going to have a good enough amount of traction on these mediums right now to do something about it? Into turn 4, it doesn't look like it. We're going to jump back on over with Astrodite, who is behind this train, where Shenjie is the conductor, and Domi is just along for the ride right now, trying to do what he can to get ahead. And Astronate's just rubbing his hands together, hoping for some kind of drama, because he wants to jump into P5, I imagine, very bad.
Yeah, this run down to turn 10 is absolutely critical for both Domai and Astrodite. Domai on the inside, a huge lunge. He's completely overshot that. That is a risk versus reward. He's drawing the track, flying ahead of Astrodite. So he manages to hold on to pieces.
Oh!
That is not what you want to see if you're a Williams fan. And that's going to cost him not only the position to Astrodite, but that's Tiem, Sever, and Yoda flying past. And they're still having their battle. That's going to go down to the final wire. But it is going to be Ben who wins this race. Freeway in second, ZZ9 in third, Shenjay coming in fourth, Fraser dropping with those penalties. Astrodite 6th, Yoda 7th, Tim and Sever 8th. Money, he drops after Mito. He's in 9th now. Money top 10.
Well,
Domai 12th.
You called it earlier because you had said on the last laps of this race, Unicorn, we were going to see some lunges, and that was most certainly a mistake from the Williams there. He was in a good running position there in the points. That mistake has now cost him points entirely. What a dynamic race this has been here in Spain, of course. 20 drivers began, 14 drivers have finished here now. And there's this race has been a very unique race, not like the other races we've seen this week. A little bit more drama in this one, I think, Unicorn. But of course, some great overtaking moments and highlights for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. There we are. What an unbelievable race. A couple of safety cars. You got Ben the Bear, absolutely dominant throughout. And just what a race. So much action from start to finish. And after 4 races at Spain, I just want more. I struggled to find a moment during all 4 of those races where anyone was bored. Because what an incredible track this has been for this week in MRL.
Yeah, it's been a very, very crazy week around Spain. Of course, Club Division wrapping things up. Ben the Bear wrapping things up from pole position to the win. It was him with the fastest lap as well, a 1:16.610. And he takes the win in that Red Bull. Of course, Freeware in second, ZZ9 rounding out your top 3. Shenjay in fourth with Fraser in fifth. It's going to be Astrodate in sixth with Yoda and Tiem and Sever 7th and 8th, respectively, with Mito in 9th and Money rounding off your top 10.